Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so if you've been online much lately, you've probably seen these really slick ads for the RetroSnap Play console. They're promising, like the ultimate premium retro arcade handheld. Says it's loaded with over 15,000 games. Mario, Pokemon, Street Fighter, all the big ones. Our mission today is pretty straightforward, actually. We're going to dive into the sources, see if this thing really holds up to the hype, or if maybe, just maybe, it's another one of those digital deals that's a bit too good to be true.
Yeah, the marketing is definitely slick. They're really pushing it as, high quality. They talk about a quad-core processor, which sounds impressive. And then there's the 10 hours of battery life claim, plus true plug-and-play nostalgia. No Wi-Fi needed, just pure 90s vibes right out of the box. It sounds perfect.
Okay, let's start unpacking that, though, because almost immediately we kind of hit a wall. The first big thing we found is that this RetroSnap Play,
Yeah.
it seems it's basically just a cheap R36S emulator console, the kind from China.
Yeah.
Totally rebranded and put in a new package.
Exactly. And that R36S platform, it's important to understand, it's fundamentally an open source emulator setup. It's built cheap, often uses, let's say, less than stellar components, and that huge game count, 15,000. Well, sources suggest that often means loads of broken ROMs, maybe glitchy emulation. Sometimes even the buttons aren't great. So pretty much the opposite of premium quality they're advertising.
Hold on, you mentioned it's cheap. How cheap are we talking?
Well, the sources point to these being available for less than $20 wholesale, sometimes on sites like Alibaba.
Less than $20.
Yeah. But then they're drop shipped, meaning the seller never even sees the product and sold to people like you for what, $40, $50, even up to $70 sometimes.
Wow. Okay, so that price difference, it's huge.
Yeah.
That's not really a hardware business model, is it? It sounds more like they're just marketing the story.
Precisely. It's all about making you believe it's premium to justify that markup. And that leads right into the legitimacy question. The whole thing kind of hinges on you trusting them.
Right. So how deep does the deception go? What about their background, endorsements, that sort of thing?
That's where it gets really interesting. We found two big areas where the claims just don't hold water. First, endorsements. The website claims features in Wired, BuzzFeed, even Retro Magazine. We checked. Couldn't find any evidence of that. Seems completely fabricated.
Seriously, they're just making up endorsements from major outlets.
Okay.
Wow. What was the other thing?
The company history. Their site says they started back in 2017. Gives them that air of, being established.
Okay.
But a simple domain registration check. It shows the website was only created in early 2024.
2024, not 2017.
Yeah.
That's a 7-year discrepancy. You could check in, 30 seconds.
Exactly. It's a pretty blatant fabrication. And those things, the fake history, the fake endorsements, they're clearly there to build trust, to make that inflated price seem reasonable.
It's all about manufacturing that credibility then, not about the actual product.
Seems that way.
And speaking of manufacturing credibility, what about customer reviews? I saw somewhere it had a pretty good score, like on Trustpilot.
Ah, yes. That's another layer. On the surface, it boasts an excellent 4.5 score. Looks great.
Yeah, that seems pretty convincing.
But then you actually dig into the one-star reviews, and you see a very consistent pattern. People are calling it a drop-shipping scam over and over. They complain about, getting a cheap, low-quality product, orders not showing up at all, and, significantly, lots of mentions of having to file disputes through PayPal just to get their money back. That suggests it's not just a few bad units, it's more systemic.
So the great score is basically masking a whole lot of unhappy customers underneath.
It definitely looks like a smokescreen, yeah.
And, okay, is there anything else, any final marketing trick?
There is one more thing, actually. The ads themselves, often the video footage they use shows genuine vintage consoles, the actual high-quality hardware we remember from back in the day, which is definitely not the cheap plastic emulator that arrives in the mail.
Right. So they're even using visuals that aren't representative of the product.
Seems like it. It all paints a pretty consistent picture.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. What's the bottom line for anyone thinking about buying a RetroSnap Play?
Well, based on everything we found, it seems pretty clear. This is not a premium console. It's looking like a standard, cheaply made R36S emulator, and it's dressed up with some, let's say, very misleading marketing, fake history, dodgy reviews. all seemingly to justify a price that's way higher than it should be.
Absolutely. And that brings up a really important point for you, the listener. If those glowing reviews or claims about company history are swaying your decision to buy something online, maybe pause for a second. What simple checks, things anyone can do, like checking a website's registration date using public domain tools, or actually reading those one-star reviews instead of just looking at the overall score should you maybe run first, just to see if that company's story, actually checks out. Definitely something to keep in mind next time one of those premium nostalgia ads pops into your feed.